bunch of philosophers and yoga practitioners who led us into Iraq.
What do you think a yoga practitioner would lead us into?
If you would have handed me cash, I would have spent it on nothing useful.
Employees at Wayfair walked out of their offices in Boston today, a week after they learned the company had sold more than $200,000 of bedroom furniture to BCFS, the nonprofit that runs facilities for detained migrant families. Wayfair hasn't backed out, but executives did say they plan to donate $100,000 to the Red Cross.
All units on the shots fired, stay on main.
The Broward County Sheriff's Office fired 2 deputies for neglecting their duty when shots went off at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. A body camera showed one hiding behind his car, while the other allegedly wasted time fiddling with a bulletproof vest. After the shooting, President Trump said officers should be in every school, but a year-long investigation found that 4 of the 7 who were at Stoneman Douglas didn't intervene.
We believe the American people should hear from her. We have offered her a platform to explain herself, and she did not show up.
The House Oversight Committee voted to authorize a subpoena to force White House counselor Kellyanne Conway to answer their questions about whether she violated the Hatch Act, which bars federal workers from doing political work while on government time.
Speaker who's president.
Conway says going on TV to trash Democrats isn't political work. It's exercising her free speech. President Trump woke up this morning furious with the co-captain of the U.S. women's soccer team, Megan Rapinoe. Not because she regularly protests during the national anthem, but because she won't pay him a visit if the team wins the World Cup.
I'm not going to the fucking White House. No, I'm not going to the White House.
Trump took the high-ish road and says the team's invited, even if they don't win.
Elizabeth Warren spent the morning of the first Democratic debate outside the Homestead Detention Center, where thousands of migrant kids are being held.
There they go.
Her campaign loaded supporters onto buses in downtown Miami and rolled 30 miles south to the facility. It was a well-timed, well-rehearsed pre-debate stunt.
What's happening here at Homestead is wrong, and we will fight it with everything we have. Thank you all for being here.
Warren wasn't the only candidate who had the idea to visit Homestead, but she was the one who drew the crowds of reporters and got the buzz. It was the kind of thing you see from the frontrunner, and increasingly, it's feeling like that's exactly what Elizabeth Warren is.
Shut it down! Shut it down!
Not according to the polling, though. Joe Biden is still way ahead on paper. But Warren has been coming on like a train, mainly at the expense of Bernie Sanders. And she'll be the main attraction at night 1 of the debates tonight, where she'll share a Biden-free stage with a bunch of candidates who would give an arm for a share of her momentum. Which is weird. Warren wasn't supposed to be doing so well in a field this big because she doesn't have any of the trump cards that some of her competitors do. She's not the socialist firebrand. She's not the natural campaigner or the fresh face. She's not the former vice president with the Rust Belt cred. She's not even the only woman in the race. On top of all that, she sustained what would normally be a fatal political wound, appropriating a cultural heritage that may not be hers to claim.
My apology is an apology for not having been more sensitive about tribal citizenship and tribal sovereignty.
Yet here we are with Warren surging just as the first debates arrive, and she's doing it the old-fashioned way, basically beating down the door with ideas. Warren's got a plan for that is basically a punchline at this point.
What's the plan for that?
Because you got a plan for everything.
Mm-hmm. We got a plan.
She rolled out a plan to end the opioid addiction crisis and to protect public lands from drilling. There's also one for tackling affordable housing and for breaking up big tech. And those are just a few examples. Even though Warren doesn't have a comprehensive immigration plan yet, she's hinted at some components that'll go into it.
Senator, last night you said that you are going to decriminalize border crossings.
Yes.
How would that work?
So what it would mean is that we don't lock up people who have administrative violations. And the consequence of that is that we would not be filling up these detention centers, whether they're for-profit or not for-profit. You know, we have other ways to be able to keep track of people who cross the border. We can use ankle bracelets. We can release them to family members. We can release them to friends, that they know it's much cheaper, and it's also vastly more humane. But that's not the policy that Donald Trump wants to use.
It's not just that Warren has plans, it's that they're pitched just right for this political moment. They're unapologetically progressive, but also just really well argued and based more on reason than anger.
Locking people up for money is not what the United States of America should do.
That's been enough to put her right in the center of the fight for the nomination. The question now is, what happens when she has to go from explaining her ideas to attacking her opponent's ideas without turning people off? That's its own kind of political skill. And tonight, when she takes the debate stage, we're going to see whether she has it.
At Thursday's Democratic presidential debate, you'll probably know most of the candidates, except for Marianne Williamson. Williamson was born in Texas, but this is where her whole thing is really from. An Art Deco era movie theater in Beverly Hills.
Welcome to Agape. We recognize you.
On Sunday mornings, it's where you'll find the Agape International Spiritual Center weekly meeting for worship. Just your standard, in touch with the universe, California-y, feel-good, fun time.
Welcome to the stage, Marianne Williamson.
Williamson's guest appearances used to be about healing yourself.
Hello, Agape!
But now they're about healing the country.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Los Angeles.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a corporate matrix that has become a new American aristocracy. We need to do more than just make life better for the serfs. We need to dissolve the aristocracy. This is America, and we don't have one here.
Williamson is a rock star in this world. It's in Los Angeles that she grew into one of America's most successful spiritual teachers. And it's her celebrity that got her on the debate stage. When people like her start getting political, a lot of other people tend to roll their eyes. Williamson, after all, is pretty much the platonic ideal of coastal, rich, woke white lady with opinions.
My career started here back in the 80s. I've been lecturing on a set of books called A Course in Miracles. Not a religion. It's a system of spiritual psychotherapy. It's about how to be more loving and how to be more forgiving. And right now I'm talking about love as it applies to politics.
This stuff plays great in California. Did you care about her before she got into politics?
Yeah, I did.
Why? What was so important?
That came out, The Healing of America, and she received a lot of flack from people in the so-called spiritual community because you weren't supposed to mix spirituality and politics.
Why do you love Marianne Williamson so much?
Oh my goodness. Well, I really strongly believe that we do need to return to love. And she is right on so many of the issues that are important to me from a holistic standpoint.
Williamson thinks this stuff plays great all across the country, too. And that's why, a day and a half after Agape, we're in New Hampshire for a full day of 2020 campaign stops, including a no-press-allowed visit to a veterans' homeless shelter.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
And a more conventional speech.
We need a moral and a political and a social and an economic revolution in this country, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing less than that. And that has to begin with all of us waking up, all of us being aware in a way that we have not before.
I would like to know what you have over Elizabeth Warren.
Bernie and Elizabeth and I have the same views in terms of a fundamental pattern disruption of the political and economic status quo in the United States.
I've fallen down.
Williamson's been political for a while now. In 2014, she tried to run for Congress and failed, despite a campaign song by Alanis Morissette. Her politics are very left. She's critical of corporate power, strongly advocates for slavery reparations, and supports universal government-funded health care coverage. In 2016, she publicly endorsed Bernie Sanders. How is your socialism different from Bernie's socialism?
I don't think of myself as a socialist. I think of myself as a capitalist with a conscience. I think that capitalism can be very good at creating economic opportunities, but what has happened since the 1980s, capitalism has completely disconnected itself from any sense of ethical or moral responsibility to anything beyond fiduciary responsibility to its own stockholders. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
The Manchester event was a foreign policy event. Williams had offered a lot of concern about nuclear weapons and ongoing wars.
And you can't just prepare endlessly for war and hope you back up into peace. We also have to wage peace. We have to cultivate peace.
A promise to create a Department of Peace. An America that talks softly and carries a big crystal stick. What's wrong with politics?
It's a conversation that has become too narrow a container for the energies that are needing and seeking to emerge on the planet right now.
People call you a spiritual guru. What do you think about that?
But I don't think anybody over these last 35 years will come hear me at a talk and think I wasn't a decent person of decent intelligence. But these caricatures get created. So yes, the New Age guru, like I'm some crystal lady in cut velvet. And not that, listen, I know some wonderful crystal ladies in cut velvet too. But it's just that this, you know, the implication is that you're an intellectual lightweight. And there was a time when it definitely marginalized and minimized my career. Now I'm like,
what does it mean to be spiritual?
All that spirituality is the path of the heart. That's all. There's no, spirituality is different than religion. Franklin Roosevelt said, the administrative aspect of the presidency is secondary. He said the primary role of the presidency is moral leadership. You know, it wasn't a bunch of philosophers and yoga practitioners who led us into Iraq.
What do you think a yoga practitioner would lead us into?
Well, hopefully, a greater alignment.
Online, Williamson's campaign is doing very well. But in New Hampshire, her crowds were small, but attentive.
It turns out love is the answer, after all. Thank you.
The stereotype would be that basically that kind of woo-woo stuff isn't going to play in New Hampshire, but you think it might?
I think it might. She approaches it with a passion, and she explains it at the very beginning there. She explained what she did and what she does, but she doesn't sound like a Dr. Phil.
Williamson literally moved to Iowa to live there through the caucuses, and she's campaigning all the time. She's taking this pretty seriously. Tomorrow night, she'll learn how seriously Democrats are taking her. When Democrats and when the establishment gets nervous about the left, what they're often nervous about is like woke white women from the coast who have a lot of sort of starry ideas and want to tell people what to do.
Well, first of all, I don't feel like I'm telling people what to do. I'm stating a moral principle. Telling people what to do? Listen, people can vote for who they vote for. You've seen me in Los Angeles, you've seen me in New Hampshire. My words are landing. If you want to take this viewpoint and have this viewpoint guide public policy, you have that option.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
And then it's up to them.
For coming.
And that's how it should be.
La opción es mantenernos exigiendo nuestros derechos en las calles, haciéndole ver al mundo que hay un pueblo determinado y decidido a conquistar la libertad.
Months of attempts by opposition leader Juan Guaidó to take down Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, and repeated threats of a foreign invasion, have put the country's pro-government militias on overdrive. The most prominent groups are led by civilians who go without uniform, and Maduro knows they have his back.
Le hago un llamado a los colectivos, a todos. Llegó la hora de la resistencia activa.
Most colectivos started as workers' communes. Then President Hugo Chavez gave them legitimacy and resources, which is one reason they've stayed loyal to his successor. Colectivos say they're unpaid, and they're often evasive about whether they're armed. But some of their members have been spotted firing their weapons at opposition rallies. In recent months, one colectivo, the Bolivarian Motorcyclists Union, has been out more often. Endri Carvajal leads one of their divisions.
Casa de los motorizados en el municipio Sucre. Esa es la sede nuestra ahorita.
Their headquarters are in Petare, which is the biggest slum in Caracas and where a lot of people still support Maduro.
Cuando tienen este tipo de la oposición venezolana sale con este tipo de choque, este tipo de cuestiones, nosotros salimos en cuestión de inteligencia. Salimos uno, salen dos, nada más pasamos la cuestión. Y cuando es muy fuerte el llamado, este sindicato a nivel de Caracas se activa completo, donde pasamos unos 2.000, 3.000 motorizados en la calle. En la moto. Nosotros somos un pueblo, un músculo cívico-militar. Somos los caballos de hierro.
Aquí vamos los motorizados otra vez en defensa del pueblo. Somos garantía de paz. Maduro, contigo siempre, hermano.
When the opposition takes to the streets, this colectivo gives intel to the armed forces and police.
Estar en total tranquilidad. Aquí manda la revolución y aquí nos quedamos. Chávez vive. Leales siempre, traidores nunca.
Colectivos range from purely mercenary enforcers to politically motivated left-wing militias. One of the most ideological is Alexis Vive, which controls the better part of El 23 de Enero, a neighborhood with a long history of political struggle. The group runs a collectively owned bakery that sells discounted bread, a textile factory that makes cheap clothes, and a radio station for pro-government propaganda. This colectivo is fiercely loyal to Chávez, and they try to make sure the rest of the neighborhood stays loyal too.
Bienvenido, compa. Adelante. Este es el salón del militante de las Fuerzas Patrióticas Alexis Vive. Bienvenido, compa. Este es el sistema de circuito cerrado de la comuna. Desde aquí nosotros podemos avisorar cualquier objeto, cualquier intruso a nuestra comuna, la lógica comunal. Aquí nosotros avisoramos algo ajeno a nuestra comunidad, automáticamente las fuerzas vivas de la comuna se activan. Si es algo que transciende de nuestra capacidad operativa, se llama automáticamente a las carpas de los cuerpos de seguridad que están acá cerca y ellos se encargan de hacer su procedimiento como órgano represivo del Estado, pues. Esto es parte de la seguridad colectiva de la zona. Nosotros mediante estos autoparlantes le informamos a la comunidad cuando tenemos feria de abastecimiento comunal, le informamos a nuestra comunidad cuando está pasando algún hecho sobrenatural o alguna otra cosa que altera la estabilidad y el metabolismo comunal. Probando. 1, 2, 3, probando. 1, 1, probando, 1, 2, 3.
Buenos días, personal. Guardias patrimoniales, siguiendo los pasos de nuestro prócer, encargados de proteger nuestro interés cultural.
On top of the colectivos, there's also a state-sponsored civilian force created by Chávez in 2008 called the Bolivarian Militia. In February, Maduro says he plans to double their membership from 400,000 to 1 million by the end of the year. José Lugo, a leader of Alexis Vive, says the milicianos are preparing for a scenario in which Guaidó or the US try to topple Maduro by force.
Juan Guaidó es tan apátrida y tan arrastrado. Es que yo no sé ni siquiera qué palabra podía emplear yo aquí que ustedes no fueran a censurar. Él cree que él va a llegar y él se va a posicionar aquí en Venezuela y que ya él va a ser presidente y que nosotros lo vamos a aceptar. Nosotros como milicianos revolucionarios no estamos preparando para la guerra. Ellos van a entrar. El problema es cómo van a salir. Y estoy seguro que van a salir muy mal parados de Venezuela. Porque nosotros vamos a activar la guerra de todo el pueblo. Y ellos no van a saber de dónde van a venir los temas.
So do you know how this works?
I've just started hearing about it a little bit, but kind of.
So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna activate this. We're gonna do it over the phone. And what you can do is you can just kind of clip this onto your keys or something.
It's run on Bluetooth, not Wi-Fi, so you can't get tracked. And it's within a small area, so it's not gonna blast you to like a mile and a half out.
Are there any job skills that you'd like to share with the folks who might read about you?
I'm really like a jack of all trades, kind of. I do a lot of stuff.
And then a few words, how did you end up on the streets?
Oh boy.
It's a story, huh?
Yeah, it's a long story.
For the past couple years, food banks, rehab centers, and a handful of other nonprofits around Seattle have been helping people sign up for an app called Samaritan, which lets the homeless ask for money online instead of in person.
When you walk by somebody who has the Samaritan app, it'll ding their phone and say, hey, I'm Danielle. This is kind of my story. And they can donate like $5 or $10 or however much they want. I think it took it. There we go. And that's it. So here is your beacon.
Look at that, Michael. You have $10 on your beacon.
Oh, wow. Nice. It's pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool.
There are about 300 people walking around the city with these beacons right now, receiving donations from strangers and then using that money around town.
Why don't we do iced white chocolate mocha? Do you do that?
Yeah.
Do you guys have that? Yeah, let's do that.
Key Hernandez signed up for Samaritan last fall.
Is my beacon popping up on there?
Okay, here you are.
Okay. I've been like chronically homeless or residentially challenged, as I like to put it, for 10 years now? They asked me if I wanted to do this beacon thing, right? And inherently, I don't trust anything that's like offering me things that aren't, you know what I mean? Like whether it's food or money or housing.
Because you assume there's some sort of strings attached to it?
Thank you. That's exactly what I'm used to. It's like speed dating, but for meet your local homeless person. So it's just kind of like, this is funny. It's almost like I've been on Tinder or something.
There are some strings attached. Key can spend donations freely at businesses that have partnered with Samaritan, including grocery stores, thrift shops, and a hairdresser. Useful stuff for survival or a re-entry into the working world. But she needs counselor approval to spend that money elsewhere.
I was excited about the idea that these funds could be used only, in these ways that could help me. Because if you would have handed me cash, I would have spent it on nothing useful.
How much money do people donate to each month?
$350. That's been like the last month, which is kind of crazy.
Samaritan is part nonprofit, part classic startup. Donations in the app are tax deductible. But the founder, Jonathan Kumar, is hoping to eventually make money by licensing the beacon technology.
How did you come up with the idea for the Samaritan app?
We were looking at, could we help people learn the stories of people they were passing by on a daily basis and invest effectively into their lives?
So it's kind of like an individualized GoFundMe?
It's basically, Samaritan is an intervention that drives behavioral change. From our pilot, we've seen about 20% of that population exit to some life-changing outcome, whether it be housing, employment, addiction treatment.
How do you know if that's causal? I mean, like, the people that you're reaching are through nonprofit organizations that are helping them in some way that might be much more significant than $50 that they get over the course of a month.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I think our expertise ends and theirs begins. We're just technology. We're an app and a beacon. We're not taking credit for the outcomes. Those outcomes belong to the nonprofits that are working with these individuals.
Jonathan's hope is that the roughly 10,000 people who've downloaded the app don't just donate, but engage with the homeless.
The easiest thing we can do is to ask someone for $5. The hardest thing we can do is to say, take this person out to coffee. But that's where the magic happens. And we're trying to grow that.
How did the last month go?
I've finally stabilized some things, like